What's up, guys? We back. I think it's week 4.
Week
Throw them
4.
fours up. Throw them
Yeah.
The
fours up.
foes
Throw them fours up.
from the
Throw them
foe.
fours up.
It's
Four
the 4
up,
for 4
four
for me.
down. Throw them fours up. We still
The
in. We gotta bring that bad man back on.
Bad man.
That man. One day, Coach K told them girls at practice. I don't even know if he told them, but he told them something like this: if I ask you to fix a cold cut, you better put everything on it.
I know that's right. Dress that up.
It's the
Dress that
man,
up.
the myth, the legend, and Coach K.
There he is.
Yes, sir. What's going on, people?
Not right now.
How you
So,
doing, Coach K? How you doing? How's your
so
day?
Doing
Life?
great. I'm doing great. It's my favorite time of year, almost tournament time. March Madness,
Mhm.
baby. It's on the way.
Right around
Tournament
the corner.
time.
Yes,
so
All
yes. How
right,
y'all
let's talk
doing?
about you know what? It's been a very productive week. Let me say this. I feel like, this year, at least for me, y'all, I've been getting a lot done, but I also have been having some time where I can actually reflect on what I did. Because it's one thing to do so much and then you sit there and be like, what did I do? And I've actually been having a year where I can actually do things and then reflect on what I've done so I can be able to learn from it and, be able to, do a little bit better moving forward. But that's how my life is going, my week is going. So,
Good to hear. Good to hear.
I'm doing good, man. Taking one day at a time. That's all we
Yes,
can
sir.
do.
I heard that. So what you got? What you got? What's hot this week?
So we knew, in our minds that Norfolk was going to have the accomplishment that they did, but they sealed the deal by, defeating North Carolina Central and have, definitely secured that regular season championship or rather winning. So my question to you is, Coach, now that we're getting into post season competition. Well, they have their last game against Howard, of course, but right after that, we're going into March 9th through the 12th. We got the tournament starting up with the MEAC, and the SWAC and things like that. What is your mindset? I feel like for the Norfolk team, do you feel like they're going to be able to sustain where they are? Keep because some teams they'll have their peak really early and then they'll start to plateau a little bit later, but do you foresee them having their success continually, or do you feel like it's going to be some challenges moving forward?
Gotcha. Well, I thought I was at the railroad track because I thought I just heard a train. Let me tell you something. Norfolk State University men's basketball gonna keep that train rolling. Like I
Hmm.
said, Coach Robert Jones. This not their first dance. This not their first time to the rodeo. This is something that they do annually. And when you're
Yeah.
building a successful competitive program, this is the goal every year. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
ultimately trying to get to the NCAA tournament. It's
Yeah.
not about winning X amount of conference games or placing this place and that place. No, we're winning it and we're getting to the tournament. And that's
Yeah.
the type of program that coaches ran there. I mean, nothing taken away from Coach Moten. He does an excellent job. But again, Coach Jones, he has that thing established. It's like a churning out machine at this point, and they just continue to get better each and every year. And I see them continuing to go on and win the MEAC tournament championship.
Yeah. As we're approaching this time too, who do you think is going to give them at least a run for their money? Going in.
Well, I mean, it'll be central. I mean, at tournament time,
Yeah.
everybody know that the sled is clean. Everybody's
Yeah.
zero on zero. So on any given
Hmm.
day, if you lace them up, you can be upset. Just please
Yeah.
understand. But I do think that North Carolina Central will see them again in that
Yeah.
championship game, and it will be interesting because North Carolina Central had some success against them not
Right.
too long ago. So
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, those teams are going to battle it out. They're going to compete, and I mean, honestly, it's really hard to bet against either one of them.
Hmm.
Just the caliber of program, the caliber of players, and the quality of coaching staff that each of those programs have. So it's going to be an exciting one, and I'm happy for it. It's really good for HBCU basketball. I'm sure from a revenue standpoint, they'll definitely do well there because it's one of those anticipated matchups that you want to see, especially in a championship game.
Yeah. That's very, very, very good information there. And I definitely understand that, especially, seeing the game against North Carolina Central. Was it their best game? No, but I think they're going to be able to turn it on, definitely knowing it's going to be championship time. You got a different mindset going into that, knowing that, this is where we want to be and this is how we're going to show up. So hoping
For
that they
sure.
definitely have a good game moving forward. I did want to get your thoughts on something really quickly.
Okay.
Shalomi Sanders, Deon Sanders' daughter, has committed to Jackson State. Before we start talking about Jackson State women's basketball, this came over me. One, being his daughter, Deon Sanders, which we know that's more the football side, but her coming to the basketball thing. Do you feel like it's a good move for her? Do you know anything about Miss Sanders, first of all? But then also, what are your thoughts about her committing to JSU?
Well, don't know a lot about her personally, but I mean,
Yeah.
as we say at FAMU, why not us? You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's 832 collegiate institutions in the country that you can go to choose to attain your college education and compete in collegiate athletics.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm sure as any HBCU institution is saying, why not us? And so
Hmm.
good for her. You have the opportunity to go where your dad is. Your two brothers are competing at a high level. Obviously, you're going into a program that has seen success and continues to compete at a high level. Ideal situation for her, I'm sure she's saying. But just like anything, I mean, look, she got to go in there. She got to do her work. I mean, I don't care who you are. When you
Yeah.
look at how that program's been competing for the last 3-4 years, look, you got to go there and you got to get after it. You got to be what we call a dog. And
Yeah.
so hopefully she does go in there with that mindset, understanding that nothing will be given. And she does well. I mean, I wish every student athlete, specifically those that are going to HBCU institutions, the absolute best in their
Hmm.
endeavors, everything that they're trying to aspire to do. So good for her. Hey, you got to go too far away from home. You got all your people right there. You can still go home and get mom's cooking on Sunday. So um, hey, shout out to
That's
her.
the thing right there now.
Shout out to her.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
that's the way
That's the
to
real
man
reason
hot
why
that
she
country
signed.
food. Well, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Shoot.
because look at it, man. We get kids all the time. I use Tallahassee right there. The twins that played at FAMU DRS, and
Yeah.
and I haven't spoken with her. Very, very good young lady. Haven't spoken with her recently, but she went up to Stony Brook, New York, and the reality of it is, Stony Brook, New York, is not Tallahassee, Florida. And when that's all that that can be a very hard transition. I see so many student athletes going off to these schools, and within the first year, they're back home simply because they're homesick.
Mhm.
Everything that they knew, everything that they was raised up on, all the people that they were raised around are pretty much non-existent because they're X amount of miles away.
Mhm.
So she's not going to face those different challenges and barriers that sometimes student athletes
Yeah.
face, which could play major dividends in a positive way for her.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even just, the school as a whole, like we're about to start talking about Jackson State women's basketball right now, who is dominating. But more, specifically, let's talk about this game against Texas Southern and how it won. It was down to literally the wire, right? They were 86-86 going into the 40 seconds remaining left in the game. Amisha Holiday shut it down. Did you foresee it being as close as it was that last game, or did you were like, okay, I knew it was going to be down to the wire. I knew there was going to be, Texas Southern was not just going to allow them to win. What was your thoughts kind of about that game?
Gotcha. Well, I knew it was going to be a competitive game. I think I said it on
Yeah.
a couple shows prior that would be the type of team to really give them a run. And I talked about that young lady from Leesburg, Florida,
Yeah.
that is going to give buckets around the rim and can also step outside and do great things. And then obviously led by the Hall of Fame coach, who they have as a player. So if you look back at Jackson State over the past 4 or 5 games, all of their games have been very competitive.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a thing where it's complacency. We talked about plateauing and
Yeah.
things like that, but their last 4 or 5 games have actually been pretty close.
Yeah.
I like to believe that they can, wiggle their way out of that. I mean, it's really we're going to see coming up here in tournament play when you're ending the season after you've had arguably what a I don't know 20 something win conference win streak. And you get into this conference play where your win margins are decreasing more and more
Yeah.
every single game. It's going to be very interesting to see how they bounce back come tournament time. One thing I will say is that they do have the senior leadership of players like Arnisha Williams, and when that time comes, obviously they're going to lean to her. They're going to hope that she steps up and do great things, because that experience, I'm sure, is going to mean a lot. I don't know that in recent years that Texas Southern has had the success that obviously Jackson State had, being in the tournament, competing in the championship multiple consecutive years. It's what they know, it's what they do. So they don't really have to learn how to turn it on for that moment. This kind of already built in and instilled because of the experiences that they've gone through over the last couple of years.
Right. And even just very similar to the other question about the men's basketball, like going into this conference championship, who do you foresee giving Jackson State women, run for their money? Do we see a continually maybe Texas Southern taking that opportunity since they know how close they were able to get them this past game? Or do you foresee some other teams kind of stepping up? Because I know Alabama A&M has had their great runs a couple of times. Like, where do you see that kind of where Jackson State is definitely going to make sure they need to show up to those games?
Gotcha. Well, I would say it's two teams. It's going to be Texas Southern and it's going to be Southern University. They definitely going to have to lock in to be able to compete with those teams, because when you're 20-something wins in a consecutive winning streak in conference, you got a target on your back.
Yeah.
And every time somebody has the opportunity to step on the floor and lace them up, they want to be the one to get you. Everybody wants to be the one to get you. So those two teams are going to come in competing hard. And at the end of the day, both of those teams also have seniors. And at this point, they're saying we're going to win or advance. Win and advance. Otherwise, you're going to the house. And that could be the last time that you lace them up. And so, a lot goes into tournament play. The mindset is totally different. The mentality, everything. It's a big deal, getting into that tournament. So I think Southern and I think Texas Southern, if they're fortunate enough, I haven't looked at the bracket yet. I'm curious to see how the bracket aligns. If it's a 1-8 situation, if there's a bye, if there's a double bye, not sure of that yet. Obviously monitoring that to see when that bracket comes out. But, if it is a 1-8 and kind of working its way down, fortunately for Jackson State, they could potentially see themselves easily getting into the semifinal or championship game. However, it's all a matter of how they do that bracket. If it's like a 4-5 situation, that could be different, because now you're talking about possibly seeing a Southern University there in your first game in the conference tournament. And I don't know that that's what they want based on the last 4 or 5 games that they've played.
No, that makes sense. Definitely. I wanted to bring up just real quick, Savannah State topping over Fort Valley in a double header. What are your thoughts on that game? What are your thoughts on Savannah State moving forward? Savannah State women's basketball team going into their conference championship coming up soon as well.
Yeah, well, so I've always said, man, Savannah State is like a sleeping giant. Truly in that Division II, it's truly a sweet spot. The opportunity to recruit there in the location that they have, obviously the facilities that they have, beautiful gym, especially when you're talking about Division II institutions. It can compete with the best as it relates to that. So, best of luck to them. I'm an advocate for them. I see them doing great things. Know a few players that's on that roster right now currently competing. And know that those girls are some dogs. Look, if I know them, I feel like they gotta be some dogs. I had the opportunity to watch them play, growing up in high school and things like that. So they're gonna compete hard. And as far as Savannah State University goes, again, sweet spot in the Division II. Location, everything, recruiting hotbeds. It doesn't get too much better than that. They're in an ideal location and an ideal conference. It's just an ideal situation. So I see them continuing to get better, just as the football program and everything else. Savannah State has certainly, made their mark on success over the last couple of years since returning to Division II. But, one thing I didn't talk about with the basketball, because, man, I hate to say it, boy, I hate to say it. But there are 4 teams that have actually been eliminated on the women's side that will not have the opportunity to partake with, 1 or 2 games remaining, that being Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Alcorn State, and Mississippi Valley State. So the field is already made out. That's one thing about the women's side. It's done. There's not much more we can do. I know Florida A&M, we still have a bragging rights game coming up here this Saturday where we play them cats down there in
You
this
gonna
place
be at the
called
game, coach?
Daytona. Nah, man, I won't be at the game. I won't be at the game, but I will be at the game. You know what I mean? So physically I'm not there, but spiritually, mentally, and virtually, I'm all over.
All right.
So yeah, man, looking forward to checking that one out. I'll tell you on the men's side, that Bethune FAMU game is huge. And I want to believe my guy Robert McCullum's gonna have them boys together, ready to go. But I'm telling you right now, Bethune is throwing the whole bag of tricks at FAMU come Saturday. That game is the difference between them potentially getting into the top 8 and advancing in the tournament or their season being over. That's just kind of where the standings are right now. They're on the outside looking in, and they're one game away from being able to get into the conference tournament. Obviously, they need a little help there as well, but with the win there, their chances definitely stay alive. So, hey, excited to see how it goes down. This week, Southern defeated FAMU on the men's side. Jackson State defeated Prairie View. Bethune-Cookman defeated Grambling, and Alcorn defeated Texas Southern. So, definitely with some shakeup. But as y'all know, literally, if you look at the SWAC men's basketball, I mean, the losses start with 4. Next team is 5. Next team is 6. Next 3 or 4 teams is 7 losses. So, I mean, they're right there neck and neck, which is also a situation that makes for a great tournament. Because although Alcorn sits at number 1 right now, I don't know if they're sitting at the top of that throne come SWAC tournament time.
Right.
Just my thoughts.
This commercial break is brought to you by Sadie's Delights. Man, you already know what he about, man. Every week he bringing something new, man. That seafood mac and cheese bowl, you gotta get it. Description below. This commercial break is brought to you by Art by Elise. Man, she is an amazing talent from Miami, Florida. She went to FAMU. Man, all her description be down below. But you can tell the talent's there. You're going to get good quality art, man. But I had to put the best last. FAMU, man. We out here. Description be down below. Thank you, Elise. Yeah, I'm looking at the standards right now. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and ask this question instead of that question. Like, you're a sleeper team because, like, you do got Alabama, A&M, and you got like Grambling. Them 2 teams are like sitting on the bubble, and FAMU could possibly do something that we don't think about. Lose 2 games in a row, but we got these teams sitting on a bubble. Like, who do you think can sneak up and get a spot if they play their best game?
Oh, you're asking me who can sneak up and win the conference tournament? Essentially,
basically.
that's probably kind of outside looking in, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy answer, and I'm not being biased, but that's the Florida A&M Rattlers.
Yes, sir.
All day long, Rattlers.
Yes, sir.
Look, so this is the thing, man. Florida A&M got this kid that just came back into the lineup by the name of Jalen Spear, born and raised and hail from the great city of Gainesville, Florida. And if you don't know, that's where Coach K come from. So I truly believe my boy gonna get hot. He gonna go out there and get things done. Obviously, it's been a little different having him back in the lineup. He has not played since non-conference play. So he's back in the lineup. He's actually in the starting lineup. And trying to get things going. I think in that first game, on Saturday, he had 13. He dropped a few points last night as well. So I think when they get Jalen Spear going, they get that chemistry back, having him in practice every day, going with the first group. They're gonna bring some problems. I mean, because they haven't seen this kid all year, and all of a sudden you got this kid that can come into the game a double on any given night, playing alongside MJ Randolph, and you got a problem. You got a problem because another thing about Jalen Spears, one of the things that our team is lacking consistently. I know we got the Dominguez kid, but he's a role player. I mean, he is a 3-point specialist. That's his job.
Yeah.
But you look at a Jalen Spear, and he knocks down the 3, pretty consistently, but also is crafty and has the ability to tack down in the lane and score the ball in a variety of ways. So I think FAMU is going to be that team that everybody's probably not expecting to do what they're going to do in the tournament if they can get it together. I know time is short, Fortunately for FAMU, they do not have to play on that Monday night. We have the game against Bethune on Saturday, and Monday we're off actually while the rest of the conference is continuing to play. So, just those couple days, man, every little minute, every little, repetition is going to be valuable for FAMU as they get ready to get into this tournament play. But I definitely think that they're going to be a sleeper team. On the women's side, man, going back to Texas Southern,
Yeah.
I think Texas Southern is one of them teams that can really get hot. They kind of been up and down this year, but as of late, they've certainly been trending in the right direction. They got a lot of good pieces. They have experience. If you look across their roster, they're a very experienced team. So I think they can get hot, and I think that they can really be special and do some great things. Right now I think they're sitting at about 5. And that might be a good thing. You know what I mean? You don't always want to play. If there's anybody, if there's that what you call it, that black knight in the tournament, it's certainly got to be, Texas. So everybody's probably looking at them right now like, man, we don't want that smoke. That ain't something that we want. So I see them doing some great things as well on the women's side.
Okay. What you think about as far as like the MEAC, as far as the women's and the men's, like your sleeper?
Gotcha. Well, I mean, on the men's side, man, in my opinion, and I'm not, it's cut and dry. It's Norfolk State and there's North Carolina Central University. It's not just the rosters and the experience and the talent of the players, but it's also the experience and the talent sitting in that first chair on the bench. You're talking about 2 of the greatest coaches in the country, as far as I'm concerned. When you have that, you have something special, which is why both of those institutions have recognized it, and these guys are getting multiple contract extensions, and signing new contracts. So, at the end of the day, they're going to be the teams to beat. I mean, hey, look, once upon a time, I had this thought that I went out there and got LeBron in 101, but then I woke up and realized that it was a dream. But point is that anybody on any given day can lace them up and go get somebody. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be an uphill battle when you're trying to upset those 2 programs there. As far as the women, man. So that's another one of those ones where the top is good and the bottom is bad, unfortunately. You're going to have, Coppin State is going to look good. Howard is going to be good. Norfolk State, is going to be good. And then Morgan is always going to be a black knight, in my opinion. You always got to look out for Morgan State. They consistently get crafty, athletic players that can give you buckets all night long if you're not careful. And if you can't defend without fouling, you're going to have a whole lot of problems with teams like Morgan State. But, man, Coppin State, man, who would have thought that in such short time, Coach would go in there and get that program turned around? I mean, I can remember a time where a lot of HBCU women programs honestly almost looked at Coppin State like, man, it's the homecoming game. I mean, it had depleted so bad. And for her to come in such a short time, and might I mention, she came from Mount Vernon Academy, a high school program, and went in there and turned that thing around in the way that she did in such a short time, man, says a lot. And they're going to play hard for her. Obviously, they're just as much as they're contributing, they're also witnessing the success of that program. As those players were being recruited, they saw the state of the program. And I'm sure when they looked at it, it wasn't good. So to be a part of that success, to be playing for that coaching staff and, garnering the success that they have thus far, man, those kids going to play hard. When they come to tournament time, they're going to play hard. Now, as I always say, the MEAC tournament goes through the city of Norfolk. And that's what you're going to be up against. When Larry Vickers and his Spartans come in there, and that gym is full of people talking about behold. It's a difficult place to win. But I do think that, that Coppin State, Howard, Morgan State, those programs will be ready to go. As far as the rest of the MEAC, it's going to be an uphill battle. Maryland Eastern Shore, Coach does a good job consistently always keeping his team right about, mid, I would say, in the MEAC. On any given day, they can get hot as well. They're one of those teams. South Carolina State, man, they've been through a worldwide of events in the past week here. So it'll be interesting to see, how they respond to that. It's not about what you've been through, but how you respond. What's your resilience like? Look, it's no secret. Everybody knows what has transpired there at South Carolina State over the past week, and it's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, as college basketball players and as college coaches, you have to put those things behind you, baby. You got to go get it. You got to go get it. And sometimes that right there will be just enough to take you to where you want to be. Ron, going back 2 years ago, when things happened and transpired there at FAMU, and we went over to Savannah State, and things were not good. Things were not good the whole week. We were continuing to get through it, trying to stay together. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was just enough. And we were able to go over to Savannah State and get our first conference win, I think, after dropping maybe 9-10 straight. So you look, different things, man. Sometimes we accept that adversity. We accept those challenges because those are the very things that make us better. And I hope that South Carolina State can bounce back from this past week and really get out there and really make a name for themselves in their programs. But man, like I said, most exciting time of the year. At the end of the day, all this here is speculation. They got to get on the court, they got to lace them up, and they got to play the games until the last horn go off.
Definitely, especially like next week is tournament play for both conferences for the SWAC and MEAC. I know the SWAC start theirs on the 9th. I don't know what day the MEAC start theirs on. They start theirs on the 9th too?
Yeah, the MEAC's on the 9th, yes.
Okay, so basically they're intertwined with each other. Both of them start their tournament play on the night, girls and boys. So, that's definitely exciting for next week for us because, we get to make predictions. We get to, actually see the bracket, actually see, who's playing who and, if a team can possibly make that final push or upset somebody, that, a lot of people don't think teams will get upset. But tournament play is totally different from regular season because everything is on the line.
Right.
So,
man, I think I know them all, man, with the exception of me at women's basketball, because that can be a toss-up. That's definitely going to be a toss-up. And honestly, SWAC men's basketball can be a toss-up because I commend Alcorn State on what they've done thus far in the season. But again, I cannot stress enough, that tournament play is different. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Coach, I got another thing to talk to you about. I know you heard the news about this just came to my mind. I should have had it on here. Mississippi Valley State. Their coach was, I think, like 5-72, and I know he had some little altercation. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna go in deep to it next week because like I didn't really get all the details. How do you feel about that coming to the forefront? Because they didn't fire him; they gave him a leave of absence. So, like, what is how can I say? What are your thoughts about that?
So I'm actually not familiar with that story. This year's been different. This year's been very different in the sense that more aggression on the sidelines, if you will. Definitely has noticed a lot more of that. We just had a conversation a week ago about aggression on the sideline, so we definitely have to look into that more to see what occurred there. But Mississippi Valley State, man, it's different. I mean, you've seen the Great Row. I mean, it's very different up there, and I'm curious to see, man. I'm definitely gonna dig into that, and I look forward to the conversation more about that next week. But the only thing I can really tell you about Mississippi Valley State, man, is it's one of the toughest places in the country to win. It is very, very tough to win. So I'm always trying to commend those coaches when they are doing great things. Well, obviously I have to look into this one more, but it's a different situation. It's not FAMU. It's not Tallahassee by a long shot. And just wish them all the best in whatever that they may be going through out there.
Definitely. And any predictions about other outside entities as far as the PWI schools as far as their March Madness? Who you think can what teams do you think you can be in the forefront of going to the Final Four or getting close?
Well, I mean, to be frank with you, I honestly have not followed PWI men's basketball much at all. I do follow the women's side. I follow all of the conferences there on the women's side. There are some sleepers, if you will, on the women's side that can be successful. You look at some of these mid majors. The game has changed. Not long ago, it was big school, big school, big school. You go to the biggest name that you possibly can. And then over the course of, let's say, the past 5-6 years, it's moved more towards, I'm going to go to the place where I can make the biggest shine. You know what I mean? Or I can have, be that guy or that girl. And then now, unfortunately, I feel like we're transitioning almost back to a time to where it's about going to, who got the best offer, who's throwing me the biggest offer, whatever. But which is why you see the transfer portal in the way that you see it.
Crazy.
The data speaks to that. But on that women's side, man, I mean, you always got to watch out for teams like Belmont, like the Florida Gulf Coast universities of the world. Those teams are always going to give you a run for your money. Just very, very good. Carl Smesko down at Florida Gulf Coast, very good guy. They consistently in the top 25. I mean, even down my way, University of South Florida with, Coach Jose does an excellent job, brings in those players from overseas, man, and it just clicks, man. It's smooth like butter, the way that they play. Really get it done, can kill you all over the floor. So excited for that tournament, man. Excited for the women's basketball tournament and excited for this thing to get kicked off. I noticed that Paige Buchers got back for Connecticut. So that's going to be interesting. You're talking about arguably the best player in the country that, went through her injury, and all of a sudden, 1 week prior to the conference tournament, she drops back into the lineup. And so it's going to be interesting because a lot of people have counted, UConn out. Look, I like champions, and Gino's a champion. And Gino has won many champions. I don't care what anybody say. A lot of people that feel, however you want to feel, but I'm going to tell you, I've coached this game for a long time, and every night somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And that man has been fortunate enough to have a lot more of those nights where he has won and his teams have been successful than those that he have lost. So curious to see what they do, but you already know the smoke right now is out of Columbia, South Carolina with Don Staley and those South Carolina Gamecocks. they coming through. They coming through. I mean, top to bottom, left to right, however you want to look at it, dress. Woo, man, they good. And might I add that they're led by the point guard Destiny Henderson from right here in this great state of Florida, coming out of Fort Myers. So it's gonna be exciting, man. They got Aaliyah Boston down there. They got my girl that transferred from Syracuse, like 6'6", 6'7" down there. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Then you always got your West Coast teams like the Stanfords, that's gonna show up and show out. They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. I mean, they're consistently good. So you never know what's going to happen there. But man, one of the most impressive PWIs that I've seen this year, because Ron, you was with me last year, man. I mean, 2 years ago, and we competed against LSU, and I want to say our game was within 15 points against LSU. It was a very competitive game, and that's not the same LSU no more. Kim Mulkey left Baylor and took the job at LSU, where she is from. She's from the state of Louisiana. And when I tell you an overnight turnaround, we're talking about the top team in the top 10 team in the country now. Who would have thought? And not much change or turnover in the roster. Who would have thought that team that was said to be the bottom of the SEC would be one of the top teams in the nation right now? You want to talk about great coaches again? Coach Kim Mulkey, another coach that a lot of people feel a lot of different ways about, but at the end of the day, look, she got champion in her heart. And she's going out there and getting it, and her players are going out there and competing very hard for her night in, night out. Big fan of Coach Yo at Ole Miss. That's my girl. Been my girl for a long time. Gonna continue to be my girl. She has turned that Ole Miss program around. It ain't too many hands flying up saying, I want to move to Oxford, Mississippi. You don't see that every day. But she has managed to put together a roster that is competing at a very high level, has actually broken the top 25 for the first time, and I almost want to feel like ever. And it's just doing a heck of a job. I think finished in the SEC this year in 4th. Wow. Who would have thought that in the short time that she's been there, that Ole Miss women's basketball, we're not talking about SEC football and none of that. We're talking about women's basketball. Who would have thought that Ole Miss would be in the position that they're in? So kudos to her. Shout outs to her.
Especially in the SEC, they do not call nothing. They let you play out. I'm like, that's a foul. That's a foul. That almost looked like a flagrant. But SEC is the one conference they don't call nothing. They just let them people play. And I kind of like that, though, because it transitions to over like football. So, like, you're going to get a tough competitive game every game as long as you're playing an SEC opponent. So, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Coach K, man. Thank you so much. This is week 4. We definitely gonna have you when the season over with, because I know you know about a lot of recruiting that we may not know about. So we definitely gonna have you popping up here and there. But March Madness, man, we got you locked for the whole month, man.
Yes, sir. I want to hear them predictions next week, fellas.
I got some for you, dog. I got some.
Right. I want to hear them predictions, man. I want to see where we at. I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all this last week.
I got some for you.
What's going on, but I'm excited for that conversation.
Definitely. We gonna have them ready, and we gonna have them rocking them rolling.
Yes, sir.
Yes, hey, y'all be good, man. Thank you so much for having me, and blessings to you.
All right.
Peace out.
Be good, bro.
Robin had to step out. She had to, attend to a meeting with her college as far as, coaching and everything. But, and like me and Jerry, but Jerry, I'm gonna tell you, thank you for everything. Thank you for, coming on the platform. Thank you for giving me that yes. Thank you for, being my dog, but you ain't my dog, but you're my dog. So, thank you for everything. This is me giving you your flowers, because I definitely gave it to Robin last week, as far as, you being there, you doing your job without doing your job. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, bro.
Always, man. It's always love come from over here, dog. North Carolina, South Carolina ties, FAMU ties, all that. My dog.
Definitely. Hey, man, everybody at home, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you share this out to the public so we can make this platform grow. Definitely going to be at the FAMU Bethune game. Definitely going to cover that game. Definitely for our football people, definitely this weekend I'm going to cover spring practice for FAMU, for my FAMU fans. I'm going to have that going for y'all. I'm going to give y'all the insight of what some players doing, just inside of the practice, and definitely the stadium. They're renovating the stadium on the home side. So, there's going to be a new box office. Everything's going to be brand new. Everything's going to be up to date. So, enough with the old, in with the new. I'm going to have all that information for y'all next week. And, did another one.
You got to change, or you're going to be extinct, dog. That's what we said. Hey.
Sure, like them dinosaurs, bro. You see them alligators. Them alligators knew what it was. Shoot. Them alligators.
Arms is rolling, boy.
Them turtles and alligators, boy. They knew what it was. They was like, we got y'all.
Yes, sir.
Sure. But shout out, Jerry. Shout out your Instagram. Shout out your Twitter and all that again, so people can follow you.
Hey, man, Instagram, Mark_Q. UEBAN, Mark Cuban, and Twitter, I'm good_son. Y'all give me a follow.
Definitely. Mine's Bridges on top on both platforms all together. Don't space it out. Bridges on top. Definitely follow the Pre-Snap Read on Twitter and Instagram. Definitely follow those 2 platforms. And thank you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and we out.
All right.
Shoot. Y'all, please like, share, subscribe. The more y'all do, the better this page will be, man. Shout out to Coach K for, man, keeping his facts and knowing everything about the game. This Bridges on top. We out.